There was a time before all times, a stillness before any breath had been taken, a vast silence before the first whisper of creation stirred. Far beyond the worlds we know, beyond star, beyond sky, beyond dream, there existed only chaos. Not chaos as turmoil, but chaos as a boundless possibility. A soft, endless dusk without sound or shape. A quiet ocean where nothing yet had a name. For an age beyond counting, chaos drifted alone. A presence, more than a place, a sleeping thought waiting gently to awaken. And then, from that formless expanse, a subtle ripple of warmth spread outward, a delicate pulse, creation's first heartbeat. From chaos emerged Gaia, the earth, not yet solid, not yet green, but a vast spirit, heavy with potential. She shimmered in the void, soft, welcoming, patient. Her presence was the first foundation of existence. After Gaia came Tartarus, the deep abyss beneath all things, a silent cavern of untouched night. And from the same cosmic breath emerged Eros, the gentle force of attraction and creation. A warm glow drifting through the void, the spark that would bring beings together and coax the cosmos into form. Then came Nyx, the velvet night, with wings darker than the spaces between stars. Her steps left shadows behind them, and her voice carried the hush of sleeping skies. Beside her came Erebus, the deep darkness, lurking like the soft comfort of a room without light. The universe was no longer empty, it was beginning to dream. Gaia, in her quiet strength, stretched out her essence and felt the emptiness around her. She longed for companionship, for someone to share the vastness with. And so she created Uranus, the sky. He rose above her like an endless dome of shimmering blue. He wrapped her in starlight and wind, and together, earth and sky formed the first union. From their bond came the Titans, great beings of immense power, their forms towering like mountains, and their voices echoing like distant storms. Among them were Oceanus, the gentle titan of the encircling waters, Tethys, the nourishing flow of rivers, Crius, the keeper of constellations, Hyperion, lord of the heavenly lights, Mnemosyne, memory-given form, and Iapetus, father of those who would shape mankind. But two titans stood apart from their siblings. Cronus, the youngest yet strongest, sharp of mind and fierce of ambition, and Rhea, his calm and golden-hearted sister, destined to become the mother of gods. Gaia loved her children, but Uranus grew fearful of their strength. He pushed them downward, deep into Gaia's body, hiding them, suppressing them, locking their brilliance away. Gaia groaned beneath the weight of her hidden children. Her pain echoed through the cosmos in silent tremors. She called out to the Titans to rise against their father, to free themselves and ease her suffering. Only one answered her call, Cronus. Gaia forged for him a jagged, shining sickle from the metal of the stars themselves. With its edge, sharp with celestial silver, Cronus struck against the sky. Uranus fell, and the Titans were freed. Cronus stood triumphant, shaping the world anew in his own image. But in the depths of creation, a prophecy bloomed, a whisper carried on the breath of fate. One day, the child of Cronus would rise against him as he had risen against Uranus, and so the cycle began. Under Cronus, a new age dawned. The air grew warm, the earth blossomed. Mortals fragile, but full of wonder, awoke beneath the gentle sun. This was the Golden Age, a time when no one grew old, no one knew sorrow, no one lived in fear. Crops grew without planting, rivers flowed with pure water, and the world breathed in peace. Yet beneath this idyllic calm, Cronus worried. The prophecy whispered to him, like a cold hand resting on his shoulder. To defy fate, he turned against his own children. When Rhea bore their first child, Hestia, flame of the hearth, Cronus swallowed her whole. Demeter came next, then Hera, and later Hades and Poseidon. Each time, Cronus opened his great jaw and consumed his offspring before they could utter their first cry. Rhea's grief grew with each loss. Her gentle heart dimmed, and the halls of the Titans grew quiet, until, at last, a final child was to be born. Rhea could no longer endure the cruelty. Guided by Gaia, she fled to the island of Crete, to a cave hidden among whispering olive trees and ancient sleeping stones. There, in the soft glow of dawn, she gave birth to Zeus. She wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and offered it to Cronus, who swallowed it without question. Meanwhile, baby Zeus was hidden deep within the cave, guarded by the Curetes, warriors who clashed their shields to drown out the infant's cries. Nymphs tended to him, feeding him honeyed milk and whispering lullabies of protection. As Zeus grew, storms gathered inside him. His presence hummed with power. The sky itself seemed to lean toward him, recognizing its future king. When Zeus reached his full strength, he climbed from the cave, with winds swirling at his heels. The time had come to challenge the old order. With the help of Metis, the clever Titaness of wisdom, Zeus tricked Cronus into drinking a potion that forced him to regurgitate the swallowed gods. One by one they emerged, grown but pale from darkness. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, reunited, the 6 children of Cronus looked upon Zeus with hope, their youngest brother, their long-awaited liberator. Together, they rose. The war that followed, the Titanomachy, shook the foundations of existence. For 10 years, the sky burned with lightning, and the mountains split open beneath titanic blows. The Cyclopes forged for Zeus, his thunderbolt, a spear of blazing stormlight. For Hades, they crafted a helm of shadows to shroud him in invisibility. For Poseidon, the trident, a weapon capable of splitting seas and quaking continents. Storm against stone, sky against earth, old against new. And through it all, Zeus fought at the center, his voice ringing like thunder, his power growing with every clash. At last, the Titans were defeated. Bound in chains forged from the bones of the earth, they were cast into Tartarus to be guarded by the 100-handed giants. Zeus stood victorious. The world was his to shape. With the war ended, the heavens fell silent for the first time in an age. Zeus divided the cosmos among his brothers, the sky for himself, the sea for Poseidon, and the underworld for Hades. The earth, rich and living, would remain shared among all. Atop the peak of Mount Olympus, hidden above the clouds, in a warm, eternal glow, the new gods established their shining home, a palace of marble like moonlight, halls that whispered with immortality, gardens where ambrosia grew, and golden light fell forever. A realm where gods walked in radiance, The age of the Olympians had begun. As the first dawn rose above Olympus, the wind carried a promise that countless stories, both divine and mortal, were about to unfold. The thunder of the Titanomachy faded into memory. The world exhaled, and for the first time in a very long age, the air was still. Above the drifting clouds of Greece, Mount Olympus rose like a tower of ivory and stone, its peak lost in warm, golden mist. Here, the new gods, young, radiant, eternal, began to shape their age. Let us ascend gently into their world, where the halls glow with timeless light, and where each deity carries a story woven with both wonder and deeply human imperfection. This is the realm of the Olympians. At the heart of Olympus stood Zeus, seated upon a throne carved from white crystal and veined with streaks of thunder's silver. His presence was calm yet powerful, like a storm held lovingly at bay. Around his shoulders draped a cloak of storm cloud grey, and in his hand rested the thunderbolt, glimmering softly like captured lightning. But Zeus was not simply a ruler. He was the sky, the deep blue of summer, the rolling dark of thunder, the first light of dawn. When he spoke, his voice carried the strength of mountains, yet in moments of care, it softened like the warm breath of an evening breeze. Zeus kept order among gods and mortals alike. He guided the seasons, watched over justice, and moved the winds with a wave of his hand. Yet he was also a figure of passion, capable of deep love, deep jealousy, and swift determination. His choices, both wise and flawed, shaped the fate of kingdoms and heroes alike. Above all, Zeus embodied sovereignty, not as a tyrant, but as a guardian of balance. He was the steady pulse of the heavens. Beside Zeus stood Hera, his queen and the goddess of marriage and women. Her presence was regal, as if she carried the dignity of all queens who would ever live. Her hair fell like dark silk, her eyes glimmered with intelligence, and her voice flowed with calm command. Where Zeus ruled with thunder, Hera ruled with grace and unwavering resolve. She was the defender of vows, the guardian of households, the quiet strength that held families together. Yet beneath her serene exterior, Hera carried both pride and vulnerability. She loved deeply, felt deeply, and reacted sharply to betrayal. In her goddess heart lived a storm of emotions: fierce loyalty, care for the innocent, and the eternal struggle to maintain order in a world full of unpredictability. In the great halls of Olympus, Hera walked with the soft sound of silk trailing across marble, her presence steady and dignified. Where she stood, the palace felt more complete. Far below Olympus, the endless oceans roared their devotion to the god who commanded them. Poseidon, lord of the sea, held a presence as shifting as waves themselves. His hair curled like storm-tossed foam. His eyes shimmered with the shifting greens of deep water. In his hand, the trident glowed faintly, each prong humming with ancient power. When Poseidon stepped upon the shore, the tides bowed to him. When he raised his trident, earthquakes trembled through continents. But for all his might, Poseidon carried a deep loneliness, the quiet melancholy of vast oceans, stretching farther than any god could walk. He ruled his watery kingdom with fierce pride, yet admired mortals who braved his waves. Fishermen whispered prayers to him each dawn, and sailors left offerings in the foam before voyages. To the Greeks, Poseidon was both danger and life-giver, the sea that could cradle a ship or swallow it whole. And in his palace of coral and pearl, Poseidon watched the world with a gaze as deep and unpredictable as the ocean itself. Deep beneath the earth, far from the sunlight that warmed Olympus, lay the shadowed realm of Hades. Its ruler, Hades himself, was neither cruel nor cold, but solemn, wise, and intensely private. He wore a cloak as dark as fertile soil and a crown shaped like black iron. His eyes glowed with an ember-like gentleness, reflecting the quiet acceptance of life's final chapter. Hades governed the underworld with strict fairness. Every soul, king or peasant, hero or villain, eventually walked his halls. He cherished order, valued peace, and tended to the spirits under his care. Like an eternal custodian, the Greeks feared speaking his name aloud, yet Hades was not a figure of malevolence. He simply embodied the inevitable, the soft closing of life's final door. In his kingdom, fields of asphodel swayed under starless skies, and rivers whispered ancient stories to those who had completed their journey. Hades was the quiet heart that beat below the living world, unseen but always present. Back atop Olympus, the goddess Hestia tended the sacred flame. She did not seek grandeur or worship. She did not demand temples or elaborate praise. Instead, she lived in the glow of every hearth, in the warmth of every fire where families gathered. Her presence was gentle. Her eyes glowed with amber kindness. Her voice was the soft crackle of wood burning in a calm room. Hestia brought peace wherever she walked. She calmed quarrels, soothed tensions, and reminded gods and mortals alike that home, true home, was not a place, but a feeling. She was the anchor of Olympus, steady and unassuming. While others argued or sought glory, Hestia kept the flame alive, a symbol of unity and eternal belonging. If Hestia was the warmth of home, Demeter was the life of the fields. She walked the earth in robes the color of ripe grain, and wherever her feet touched, flowers bloomed with gentle immediacy. Demeter's laughter ripened fruit. Her sorrow withered fields. To mortals, she was a beloved deity, the provider, the nurturer, the mother whose gifts filled granaries and kept families alive through winter. Yet Demeter carried deep emotion within her, especially love for her daughter, Persephone. That story, one of the most tender and painful in Greek myth, would shape the very seasons themselves. But for now, we simply feel her presence, a steady, earthy warmth rising from the world's soil. High upon Olympus, Athena was born fully grown, bursting from Zeus's forehead in a blaze of light and intelligence. She stood tall, adorned in polished bronze armor that gleamed like the morning sun. Her eyes were sharp, yet calm, a reflection of strategy, reason, and the strength found in thought. Athena guided heroes with a steady hand. Odysseus, Perseus, Hercules, all found wisdom in her counsel. But she was also protector of cities, patron of artisans, and the quiet whisper of inspiration that stirred creators to greatness. Yet Athena never ruled through aggression. Her battles were fought with precision, with clarity, with understanding. She represented the intellect of Olympus, the golden mind behind the throne. Apollo arrived upon the world like a sunrise that never faded. Golden-haired and radiant, he embodied music, healing, poetry, and prophecy. Where he walked, air shimmered with harmony. His voice carried warmth and artistry, a sound that soothed the weary and stirred the hopeful. From his temple at Delphi, the oracle spoke with his guidance, her words shaping kings and empires. Apollo was beauty, but also balance, a reminder that creation and knowledge were both sacred paths to truth. Twin to Apollo, Artemis moved like moonlight on water, quiet, silver, and sure. She roamed forests with nymphs at her side, bow in hand, hair drifting like pale starlight. Artemis protected the young, the wild, the vulnerable. She was fierce, yet fiercely loving. Her presence calmed the wilderness and stirred its mysteries, a reminder that nature is both gentle and untamed. Ares was the god of war, not as strategy or duty, but as raw emotion. His footsteps rang like clashing steel. His breath came like the growl of battle. Yet beneath his fiery nature lay an ache for recognition. Ares longed to be understood, to be seen not only as destruction, but as passion incarnate. His presence filled the world with the heat of conflict, the primal force that drives armies, but also the fire that fuels courage. Where Ares burned, Aphrodite soothed. She rose from the ocean, upon a blooming shell, sea foam clinging to her like dew. Her beauty was not merely physical, it was emotional, magnetic, an aura that drew hearts together and awakened affection. Aphrodite inspired love, romance, and the tender bonds that pull souls toward one another. She reminded mortals and gods alike that love is a force as powerful as thunder or tide. From deep within volcanic fire, Hephaestus shaped wonders. Bent of form but mighty of skill, his hands forged weapons of gods, jewels of impossible beauty, and automatons that moved like living beings. His forge glowed red beneath Olympus, the steady, rhythmic strike of his hammer beating like the world's industrial heart. Through craft, Hephaestus turned flame into art, the eternal maker, the patient builder. At last came Hermes, swift-footed, bright-eyed, and eternally curious. Winged sandals carried him between the realms of gods and mortals, and his voice danced with wit and charm. Hermes guided travelers, protected traders, and whispered ideas into the minds of inventors. He brought messages, carried souls, and stirred the winds of change. Where Hermes wandered, stories began. These 12, together with Dionysus, Persephone, and other younger gods, formed a pantheon woven with complexity. They laughed, they argued, they loved, they competed, they shaped nature and fate with every breath. And through their stories, the ancient world understood its own heart, its fears, joys, ambitions, and unending search for meaning. The halls of Olympus glowed softly behind us, their golden light fading into a warm, distant shimmer. Now, the world below opens like a great tapestry, patterns woven from myth and memory, threads of mortal courage tangled lovingly with divine intention. For although the gods ruled from upon their shining throne, their presence drifted down into the lives of mortals, sometimes in blessing, sometimes in challenge, sometimes in quiet, unseen ways. To understand the Greek pantheon, we must walk through the stories shaped beneath the gaze of Olympus, stories that whispered through ancient nights and guided generations in their search for meaning. The age of heroes rose like dawn after a long twilight. It was an age where the gods stepped onto the mortal stage, not as distant forces, but as guides, rivals, lovers, and protectors, across mountains and islands, across seas shimmering beneath Poseidon's watch. Mortals discovered destinies touched by unseen hands. Among these mortals, none was more renowned than Hercules, mightiest of heroes. Born of Zeus and a mortal woman, Hercules entered the world with divine strength, yet carried a mortal heart, capable of deep love, fear, joy, and regret. His labors, 12 in number, were not simply tests of strength, but of endurance, humility, and renewal. He faced the Nemean lion, whose golden hide no blade could pierce. He fought the nine-headed hydra, its venomous breath curling like smoke across the marshes. He traveled to the edge of the known world to capture the cattle of Geryon and descended into the underworld itself to confront the three-headed Cerberus. Through victories and tragedies, Heracles moved with a heavy grace, a reminder that even the strongest hearts carry burdens unseen. His story was one of redemption, that even when shadows fall, a mortal may rise again to stand in the quiet favor of the gods. Far to the north, in lands kissed by ocean winds, lived Perseus, the hero destined to face the Gorgon. Guided by Athena's steady wisdom and Hermes' swift cunning, he embarked on a journey filled with soft dangers and strange wonders. He crossed lands where shadows curled like sleeping dragons, and seas that whispered with forgotten lore. At last he found Medusa, a creature neither fully monster nor wholly cursed. Her hair, a nest of living serpents, her gaze turning all to stone. With gentle resolve, Perseus lifted his polished shield, letting it reflect the world behind him. Guided by Athena's hand, he found justice without cruelty, a reminder that even in myth, victory may come from clarity, not anger. Perseus's tale carried hope that cleverness and calm could triumph over terror. In the city of Athens, under Athena's protective gaze, lived Theseus, a hero whose journey was not defined merely by strength, but by wisdom and gentle discipline. He ventured into the labyrinth of Crete, a twisting maze of stone and shadow where the Minotaur waited, a creature born of sorrow and misfortune. With a quiet heart and a thread given by Ariadne, Theseus found his way not just into the labyrinth, but back out again, a symbol that every darkness, no matter how deep, holds a path toward the light. Theseus's story showed that bravery is not noise or fury, but the steady walk through fear toward what must be done. Long before many heroes were born, another figure shaped the destiny of mortals. Not through battle, but through compassion. Prometheus, a titan of thoughtful heart, watched humans shiver beneath unlit skies. And moved by empathy, he stole fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. Fire, symbol of illumination, warmth, art, and knowledge. For his defiance, Zeus bound Prometheus to a lonely mountain where an eagle would visit each day to take what his body would painfully restore. Yet Prometheus did not regret his gift. He remained a symbol of sacrifice, a reminder that progress often comes from those who dare to challenge the dark out of love for others. His flame still burns in every hearth, every forge, every spark of imagination. Among the myths shaped by divine emotion, none was more tender than the tale of Persephone, the daughter of Demeter. Gentle and curious, Persephone wandered meadows, blanketed in soft spring blossoms, but the underworld called to her in ways she did not yet understand. When Hades carried her away to be queen of the realm below, the earth mourned with Demeter. Fields withered, flowers faded, the world sighed into winter. Yet love built a bridge between mother and daughter, between earth and shadow. A compromise was woven. Persephone would spend part of the year above, and during these months, the earth flourished in Demeter's joy, and part below, when winter's quiet rest settled upon the land. Thus, the seasons became a reflection of love, loss, departure, and return. Persephone's myth whispered that life moves in cycles, light and shade, growth and stillness, all held in balance. On distant seas, beneath star-salted skies, rode one of Greece's most enduring heroes, Odysseus, a man shaped not by divine strength, but by cleverness, adaptability, and a longing for home. His voyage after the Trojan War spanned islands both wondrous and perilous. He met the one-eyed Cyclops, whose lonely rage echoed through his cavern. He listened to the siren's song, a melody both beautiful and dangerous. He walked the halls of Circe, crossed the realm of the dead, and sailed between sea monsters whose hunger churned beneath the waves. Through every trial, Athena guided him like a quiet wind at his back, and after years of wandering, Odysseus returned home, a reminder that journeys of the heart are often long but deeply worth the struggle. Through these stories, the ancient Greeks explored the nature of life itself. They saw in the gods not perfect beings, but reflections of humanity, magnified, illuminated, and cast upon the sky. Zeus embodied justice and authority, but also temptation. Hera embodied dignity, but also wounded pride. Ares carried conflict. Aphrodite carried love. Athena carried wisdom. Hades carried inevitability. Hermes carried curiosity. Demeter carried care. The gods were mirrors, cautionary tales, sources of comfort, and sparks of inspiration. Through them, mortals learned that the world was not merely physical, it was emotional, spiritual, woven from forces both seen and unseen. Myths became lanterns, guiding those who sought meaning in storms, in seasons, in choices, in love, in death, and in the vast unknown. As centuries passed, kingdoms rose and fell, temples crumbled, and new beliefs swept across the world. Yet the gods did not vanish. Their stories slipped into art, into poetry, into the architecture of thought. They endured in the language we speak, in the constellations that glitter above, in the metaphors that guide our dreams. Even now, Zeus's thunder echoes in the storms that roll across the sky. Demeter's sorrow is felt in winter's stillness. Artemis's grace glimmers in quiet forests. And Hermes' mischief whispers in every unexpected turn of fate. The gods live on, not as deities of worship, but as companions of imagination, reminders of what it means to strive, to hope, to love, and to wonder. As the echoes of these ancient stories fade, remember these myths have survived thousands of years because they still speak to us today. If you enjoyed this journey through gods, heroes, and legends, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more stories drawn from history, myth, and forgotten worlds. More tales are always waiting. Until next time, keep wondering and keep listening.